Well, welcome everybody. Thanks a lot for coming along today. Thanks for joining our little ceremonial. Small but nevertheless important. And unless you're from Cork or Cardiff or Carnoustie, a very happy St George's Day to you all as well. Did you hear the bells of the pressure? Yeah. Just as you got out of the car, we arranged that for you. Somebody did. But a very, very special welcome to our VIP guests.
Oh yeah, right.
The Mayor of Bolton, Councillor Linda Thomas, and her consort, Mr. Len Thomas. Linda's had a particularly tough task to be elected as Mayor in the middle of the pandemic, and she's just telling me that no modification to her contract, the salaries and bonuses remain exactly the same, and yet she had to do a 2-year stint. So thanks for that on behalf of all the people of Bolton. And it's just a couple of weeks before it comes to an end, 2 or 3 weeks. So we're very, very glad we got you, particularly with regard to your very long association with Westhoughton. I think perhaps like me, you consider yourself an adopted care. Well, I dare you because I don't live in Westhoughton. But you've been here a year or two. So resident of Westhoughton, former town councillor of Westhoughton, former mayor of Westhoughton, governor of Westhoughton schools. So a lot of local links. So I don't think we could have anybody better to do the ceremonial for us today. Just a tiny little bit of background. We had Westhoughton Local History Group had a precursor group called Westhoughton Local Workshop. Not quite as formal, I think, and as structured as we are these days. But during their period, they put a couple of blue plaques around Westhoughton, been there for quite a long time. And some years back we decided we should continue with that scheme. So with the appropriate permissions, we started to extend the scheme, and we've put another 4 plaques on. So as it stands up to today, there's 6 plaques around the town on various historical sites of some importance. There's a story behind them all. So today we're going to be unveiling number 7 and number 8, and we've got plans for more in the future. I don't know whether I dare say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We're very glad that the Mayor's called Linda and not Salome, because we're shortly going to ask you to remove the 7th veil.
Headlines now.
It's probably a while since you did that.
No comment.
So, what we thought we would do is we would go around to the town hall for the first unveiling, and I hope it comes off all right, by the way. We'll see, anyway. But we'll do the talking here because it's very difficult on the main road. So just a few words about this wonderful building on our left, the town hall. If we glance through the evolution of local government in Westhoughton, we see the establishment of something called the Westhoughton Local Board in the 1870s. And they eventually built their first offices, which were down where Ditchfield Gardens is now, long gone of course. But that was in the 1870s, 1874 I think that was built. 25 years later, Westhoughton was prospering, it was growing, and there were folks saying, we want a proper town hall, let's have a proper town hall. So the plans for this wonderful building were hatched, and the foundation stone was laid on the 18th of April 1903, almost 119 years ago to the day really. And the architects were Bradshaw and Gas in Bolton, eventually to become Bradshaw Gas and Hope. And we felt it was very, very appropriate, very happily coincidental, that recently Bolton Museums and Library Service have acquired all the historic archive material from Bradshaw Gas and Hope and are taking care of it. I think the company was formed in the 1850s, so it's a very substantial archive. And currently, as we speak, until the 26th of June, there's an exhibition in Bolton Museum about this, based on this material. I haven't yet seen it, but I'm hoping to go next week. Anybody seen it? So that's just a happy coincidence. So stone was laid in April 1903, and the town hall was eventually opened on the 7th of December 1904 at a total cost of £4,922. Now, I heard earlier on a bit of gossip, a bit of nattering that was going on, that some of our colleagues want to go and have a brunch after in Westhoughton. And if that happens, I wonder if they'll think and compare what happened in that day in 1904. Because a contemporary report says, and in those days they used to look the word grand. Everything was grand. They had a grand parade from the old council offices to the front door of the town hall for the ceremony, and the procession was led by a joint band made up of musicians from Westhoughton, the old band, sadly no longer with us, and Wingate's band, thankfully still with us. They came to the town hall, they had the ceremonials and the speeches, and they went in and had a grand, that word grand again, repast inside the town hall, finishing off with something called council pudding. Anybody got the recipe for council pudding? Never heard of it. Anyway, what we'll do, Madam Mayor, if you will join us round the corner, unveil the first plaque on the town hall, and then we'll come back here. Thank you. So, are we all ready? Pardon? You ready? Oh yeah. This library, which is our spiritual home, which we know so well and love and can't wait to get back into after all this work, and it is our spiritual home, and it was funded by something called the Carnegie Trust. And this incredible man, Andrew Carnegie, born in Dunfermline in Scotland in 1839, decided to go with his parents when they emigrated to the States, because he was only 12, so he thought he'd better, and destined to become America's richest man. He was the sort of Elon Musk of his day, with untold wealth, not from electric cars in his case, but from Pittsburgh Steel. He founded the American Steel Corporation, became America's richest man, but then became one of the world's great philanthropists and donated huge amounts, primarily in the direction of education. And I've always been staggered by this statistic, because as I've gone around the world watching the England cricket team, I've bumped into Carnegie libraries in Australia, New Zealand, and I thought, what's behind all this? He funded no less than 3,000. So aren't we glad that Howford's on that list of 3,000, all in the English-speaking world. This opened just 16 months after the town hall, and on the 24th of March 1906 had a cost of £3,750. And as I told my colleagues with tongue-in-cheek at a meeting earlier this week, my grandson's looking for a banger. He's 17, he's about to take his test, he's looking for a second-hand banger, and he's looking at a budget of about £8,500. And it struck me that in 1904 and 1906 Never mind a second-hand Ford Escort, you can buy a town hall and a library for that. So times have changed a little bit. The first librarian here was actually the longest serving. He was a man called J.A. Scott. I don't know what his actual name was, but he was a sort of, he was a one-man Westhoughton Local History Group of his day. He organised a very busy schedule of lectures in the lecture room inside here, and a contemporary report says some of these proved to be more popular than others. So from that you conclude there are about 4 at some of them. But anyway, thinking about what this man did, we've done some wonderful things in here over the last 15, 20 years, haven't we? We've had any number of guest speakers on every subject under the sun. We've had some wonderful exhibitions, some very popular exhibitions for national and local anniversaries. We've had reenactments, we've had dramas, we've had quizzes, we've had our own version of the Antiques Roadshow. We've done a heck of a lot of eclectic things. But as far as I can remember, we haven't done anything that quite tops what Mr. Scott did on the 7th of November 1928. One of his lectures featured a real life Mohawk Red Indian chief in full traditional dress. And it sounds like a one-man show, including tomahawk throwing, chanting traditional warpath songs, and a demonstration of fire raising by friction. Now, I'm tempted to wonder whether anyone had a word with him and said, look, how for does know all about raising fires, pal? We did it over 100 years ago, just round the corner. But anyway, before we ask the Mayor to unveil the second plaque, she's going to say a few words to her. Excuse me, yes.
Thank you. Okay. You're all right. Right, okay. I'll dive into the maybe as I call it. Right, I'll just say a few words because I know it's a bit cold. But first of all, could I just thank all of you as a society and say what a wonderful job that you do keeping the history of this town alive. It is really important, especially when you get a lot of new people coming. It's really important that they learn about what went before and why it's important. And this particular building on our Market Street is so iconic. I think it's a great thing that you're doing to kind of recognise what an important building it is to the town, and the library, obviously the Carnegie Library. And you're kind of like two bookends, aren't you, with the town hall and the church, and our town centre sort of nestling lovely in between. It's a really, whenever you see any pictures of it, that's kind of what you remember, don't you, the town hall. So it's really great that you're doing this. Why am I doing this today? I think you referred to the fact that we have had long connections with Westhoughton. We've lived here now 45 years, and when we first came to live here, I was told by a certain deceased councillor now that you'll never be a Cayenne, you know, until you lived here for over 40 years. Well, I hope that today we've actually got our badges and that we actually qualify. And, you know, we've brought our family up here and our grandchildren up here. And I have a lot of affinity with Westhoughton, with the town council, being the town councillor and the leader and the mayor. And worked with lots of brilliant people over the years, the community groups, and lots of lovely people, governors of schools, who made Westhoughton what it is. And I really do think, I'm just looking for the lady that's done all the work behind the blue plaque. Just say well done, Pam, for managing to, because that in itself is an achievement to be allowed blue plaques on, because you can't just put them anywhere, can you? So I think it's very, very fitting that they're on these two buildings. I do hope they're soon back in use for you, and we can continue the history and the traditions of Westhoughton, which is our adopted we've adopted you, so thank you for adopting us. So I'll just open this for
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much. I don't know what to attack me, but it's not you, don't worry.
Give him a hold with it.
I do, no. We have noticed the wonderful work you've done over the last 2 years with your charity, and that you've targeted 5 special worthy causes in Bolton for your fundraising efforts. We're a modest lot in the history group. Funds are modest, but we have a small contribution to your fund as a small token of our appreciation for joining us today. So thank you very much indeed.
And the 5 charities are charities that cover the whole of Bolton.
Yes.
There's Urban Outreach, I'm sure you'll know they've fed the town. They've been the massive food bank in the town. There's the Octagon Theatre, it's a charity, it belongs to all of you, and during the COVID pandemic, it couldn't open, so they had no box office, so they really struggled to keep that theatre going. Backup, which is a charity for hope to make sure teenagers aren't homeless. Again, we cover the whole of the borough, and Fortalis, which I think you all know about, which is a domestic abuse centre, again covering everybody. And there is just one slightly small one that I have supported, because as you know I do represent only Halliwell now, having represented Westhoughton before, and that's the befriending service there, because a lot of our elderly have been living in isolation and really needed all the volunteers. So this will go towards 5 really good causes that help so many people, and it's a thank you to those people, those volunteers who run these charities. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, just look through there. I mean, there's not much to it. Just...
Well, thank you very much indeed, you two, for very kindly project managing the latest 2 plaques, number 7 and number 8 in our list. And,
well, there's certainly
in fact, you can have the job for numbers 9 and 10
we might resign. Certainly on the appropriate buildings, I think. Yeah, I think they're a good addition to the town. Yeah.
I would love to reopen the Bolton Lee Railway and put another plaque up there, but that's a longer term project.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's a good point.
David, do you think you could stop the traffic?